begin. Hello friends, welcome back in. So, last time we talked about online discourse and three fandoms that are outright horrendous. These being Ruby, Godzilla, and Steven Universe. In this video, I will be talking about more groups that are outright horrid, and I will also be reading the comments of those who left suggestions and weighing in my thoughts on those groups as well. Let's get started with those comments. Well, comment at the time of my writing. I ended up chatting with this person that left it. Also, I will say it here. There will be mentions of harassment, death threats, abuse, and all sorts of colorful things said in this video. If you are not comfy with those things, I highly suggest not watching this video. I will not be holding back my words and will call out things as they are meant to be. Okay? Okay. Here's your chance to get off the video. 3, 2, 1. If you're still here, then let us continue. Caprosukis 99331 says this: as silly as it sounds, I've been disgusted by the childish outrages in My Little Pony community because of the voice actress for one of the G5 ponies named Misty Bright Dawn was harshly booed by those who only support G4. It was chaos on that side of the MLP fandom, again, as silly as it sounds. Actually, no, that doesn't sound very silly at all. In fact, the My Little Pony fandom, Generation 4 anyway, got an adult fanbase completely by accident. The show was aimed for a younger audience. Adults got their hands on the dang thing probably because of that older version that outright creeps me out. I mean, geez, Uncanny Valley much? Anyways, I personally watched the show mostly because I saw it as colorful horse puppies and learning how not to be totally a-holes. What was my writing then? Oh my gosh, I should have proofreaded this again. But anyways, in fact, one of my favorite episodes early in the show is when Rainbow Dash, characterized as the loyal one, tells off one of her old friends for being toxic to Pinkie Pie. Like, why Pinkie Pie? She's hilarious and the party girl? What's not to love? Also, the Deadpool-esque fourth wall breaks are hilarious. She will even glance at the camera. I can make an entire video on Pinkie Pie's character and why I thought she was great, but we don't have that kind of time. Anyways, here's where it gets bad. One more warning of what I mentioned above. Click off now. Now, some of those adult fans that I mentioned before turned out to be absolutely horrid people behind the scenes. Constant controversy after controversy. Turned out a couple of them were either grooming someone much younger than them, like this jackwagon over here, to a security guard getting outed as a pedophile. No, I'm not kidding. This information I got from CD Call back when she was making videos on My Little Pony. I never interacted with the fandom at all, and I'm glad I didn't, especially with these episodes when these episodes were coming out. I just entered my 30s last year. Hey yo, I'm old. And I was in high school when this show first started. I could have very easily been one of those people targeted by these people, but by the absolute grace of God, I had no interest in interacting with them at all. Moving on, there wasn't just pedophiles in the fandom. There were all kinds of people, like this a-hole who literally just sniped at people for no reason. Like bro, you look like a wet rolled up newspaper. I don't think you should be talking about other people at all. In fact, here's what CD Call had to say about this guy in one of my absolute favorite videos of hers. Check this out, y'all. Check this out. Oh my goodness.
Anthony Aguilar has a face that screams windowless van and really ought not to be talking about other people's physical appearances. I think there's a general rule to work from: don't say other people are ugly when you look like Quasimodo with third-degree burns.
It's gonna be October, Halloween. Super exciting, man. It's official, guys. Look, it's
I tell you what, man. It was this bit alone that had me legit enjoying CD's content and got me to stick around. That roast was beyond funny, but let's be real, there's no coming back from that one. Like, just sit down and shut it, my guy. There's so much wrong with this fan base, and I would run out of time talking about MLP alone. Regardless, all forms of abuse permeated this group until the show ended in 2019, and honestly, I thought it was whack sauce how it ended up, but also I'm glad that it did. Now, I'm unsure where the MLP fan base is these days. I mean, I do really see good cosplays from time to time on TikTok. At least some form is still alive. By the way, no, I do not like G5. No, I will not talk about it. And, excuse me, that's all for My Little Pony. Great show until the adults got a hold of it and made the whole thing suck. Now, let's move on now to Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh boy, you guys are going to love me for this one. I wanted to talk about FNAF in the first one, but moved it to part 2 where I can get my honest thoughts out clearer. I shouldn't have to tell you what FNAF is, right? Haunted Chuck E. Cheese Go Burr, of course. That's a hyper toned down version, but you get the point. The game series has blown the heck up since its first installment back in 2014. It has grown into a massive fan base, not just in games, but books, novels, Hush, I See You, and a movie that was in development hell for a long time and finally came out 2 years ago with its sequel dropping later this year. Speaking of which, I am legit excited for it, by the way, and holy cats, look at Toy Freddy. He looks so freaking good here. All of the toys look fantastic. In fact, anyways, much like with My Little Pony, all kinds of colorful people are here too. Much like in the last video, there's so much toxic behavior, it's honestly sad. Death threats, doxing, the whole nines exist here too. Entire groups jumping on a person or persons for not liking this aspect of the series and they are suddenly the worst ever? Looking at people like Fiznom, who was just honest with himself and others on how he felt about the games. Notably, not liking a security breach, and if memory serves, he didn't like Ruin either. Now, for a time, he had been working on a reboot of the first game called Five Nights at Freddy's Plus, or FNAF Plus for short. This was more an initiative to get fan games off the ground and made into full games funded by the game creator, Scott Cawthon. Several games in this and FNAF and FNAF Plus was one of them. Unfortunately, due to this fandom being trash and misunderstanding Phil's words or actions, he was fired and FNAF Plus cancelled. I talked about this myself on X after it happened, and I won't get too much into it here. If you want my thoughts on it, look for the thread. I'm not gonna call it out, but look for it. It's there, still. Regardless, there's all kinds of gross behavior too. Pedophiles are here as well. All the gross crap that people with souls actually hate. The previously mentioned death threats and doxing, it's all here too. The theory community, which finally got traction, for me anyways, when Matt Pat of Game Theory made a video on the first game, which is universally agreed that it isn't the case anymore. Theory crafting, excuse me, oh my goodness, I can't read right now, is the bread and butter of the FNAF community, and that is very much the case. YouTubers, people on Tumblr, I think, X, Twitter, and everywhere you can get an audience makes theories. Heck, when the Scott games were coming out back in the day, Dawko, Rads, 8-Bit Ryan, and Baz, or other Ryan at the time, got together and theorized on the games as teasers came out. What's all that got to do with the drama? Disagreements, threats of violence, and even death threats, which I've said multiple times. Not only to the theorists, but even Scott himself at times. Of course, the things that forced Scott to retire among this stuff. But like, why do people even think before they speak? I very much doubt that. I'll mention it again later, but it's not just with fans. Some content creators before have been outed and the community chased them out of the fan base. While some are justified, there are some cases of it just being overblown, like with Fiznom, for example. Multiple other game creators or songwriters have been outed as pedophiles or groomers or anything similar. Of course, it's the most beloved people. I haven't seen much on it, but DA Games has come under fire recently? I don't know much about it though, so I won't really dwell on it. Cats like Mando Pony, Jonochrome, and that one other guy we don't talk about is just a few examples of toxic creators in the space that have been pretty much outcasted by the fandom, and for all the right reasons. While the FNAF fans are more aggressive with the things they dislike, there's a good reason for it. It's been talked about in multiple things, and FNAF 2, about children being present in the masses. And I wanted to talk about it here because FNAF and Godzilla and many other fan groups end up pulling in kids by accident. If you know both of these series, you know kids have no business touching it either. Yes, both shows have some child-friendly elements at times, but look at Godzilla. He's a metaphor for atomic weapons. FNAF, child murder, and possession. Why are kids even interested in this? Simple. For the latter, Freddy and the gang appear colorful and in some rare cases, like Security Breach, friendly. Come on. We all know how chill Glamrock Freddy is. And in Godzilla in the early years has movies that kids can attach to, like Godzilla's Revenge. I listened to a podcast that's led by Kaiju Canuck. Check it out if you haven't, and they talked heavily about kids in the fandom, and I feel like FNAF and Godzilla go hand in hand. I believe it was D-Man that said this. It's the fact that younger people will take any opinion about the thing that they love that isn't positive as a personal attack. I mentioned this in a broad stroke last time, and I wanted to get into it here. Kids have this problem in spades. Unfortunately, some adults do it too. Anything that isn't overwhelmingly positive is taken as, how dare you, and out comes the whining. Here, let me talk to the young ones here for just 1 second. Now, YouTube, don't get mad at me for this, but this is important since, let's be honest, you know there's kids on your platform. Let's be real here. Listen close. People who aren't fans of a thing that you are, they aren't attacking you personally. Different people like different things. Different people don't like different things. I, for example, do not like specific elements of Security Breach. Does that mean I don't like it at all? No, I actually love the game. Just can't beat the darn thing. See this video for why. And I even have favorite sequences from it. DJ Music Man section is top tier, and the boss battles, if you can even call them that, are kinda cool. Not very well executed in some spaces, but decent enough. Does it sound like I'm attacking anyone? Can you tell with how I'm speaking? It's important to know the difference, and as you get older, it will be easy. However, I want you to pay attention to how you speak to people when you don't agree. I'm not saying you have to agree with everything, but at least try to see where the other person is coming from, okay? Okay, now, let's move on to Ark, Survival Evolved, and Ascended. Oh man, here we go. This is one I really wanted to talk about. Ark Survival Evolved and Ascended are games made by Studio Wildcard. In both, you wake up on a beach, semi-naked and cold, with one mission: survive the Ark. Both games have many maps, but what is consistent with all of them is that they are filled with dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures along with a boss creature, the island having 4 in the Broodmother, Megapithecus, Dragon, and Overseer. Each subsequent map having 1 or 2 bosses, either new ones or repeated. ASC actually stopped getting any official support some time ago, with Ark Ascended taking its place. I talked in length about the drama behind it in other videos, so I won't really talk about it much here. However, I will say the player base itself has its ups and downs. Evolved, for example, while still in early access mind, had multiple trailers showcasing new creatures and equipment. See, Ark stands on its own as one of the first full-on survival games that just so happens to have dinosaurs in it. That's the appeal after all, being able to kill and or tame most of the creatures, with only a few being untamable really. Building up structures to house tools, equipment, and even tames themselves is exactly why Ark is so beloved and withstood the test of time. Other games have tried to rise up to the challenge of taking Ark's place, but has failed miserably. Where does the drama come in? Easy. Ark is both a PvP, or player versus player, and a PvE, or player versus environment, aka the game itself. While both sides have their corrupt players, PvP is more widespread, and it's outright vitriol? Yeah, let's go with that. Vitriol when it comes to not only the game itself, but other players. It is worth noting that the PvP side appears to be much more toxic and vocal when it comes to things that wanting to be changed or be nerfed. A lot of creatures have been outright destroyed by this. The Giganotosaurus, for example, will be one example of constant bickering actually being a fair point. Yeah, as much as toxic as the PvP crowd is, this one was actually justified. See, the Giga on release was one of the most busted creatures ever, having a high torpor, or sleepiness, and a crazy amount of health and damage. The only thing that made this creature terrifying is that if it takes too much damage, it goes berserk and throws off the rider, taking them out and anyone else in the area. Oh, and fall damage is a thing in this game, and if the Giga fell off a small cliff, and I do mean small, it would rage. The PvP crowd demanded that this creature be nerfed and altered in some way. Wildcard eventually nerfed the Giga multiple times, in fact, and at least nowadays, the falling part is more reasonable, with the health not being as crazy when tamed. Other creatures like the Managarmr and others have also been butchered by this complaining. PvP players on official servers have been nothing short of toxic for a long time, decrying it as the way to play the game, and if you didn't play official, there was something wrong with you. Like, what? Excuse me if I don't have all day to make a thatch hut only for some mega tribe to immediately show up and destroy the place. I played official for like, I want to say a month? It was the worst experience I have ever had. Admittedly, the tribe I was on was pretty great, but that's about it. Official is the worst way to play the game, and PvP players are the most toxic cesspool of players I have ever had the displeasure of dealing with. It is beyond disgusting at how these people behave, and it's no wonder the PvE side is rather laxed in its comparison. Slurs, death threats to other players, and even the devs at points, constant trash talk, and many other problems. At least on the PvE side, there is no duping or cheating, that I'm aware of anyway. I actually prefer this form as the only thing I have to worry about is dying to creatures early in the game. I have heard something about pillar spam, but I have yet to really see that myself in either game, and it's such a non-issue to the game as a whole. As I said above, PvP is much worse by a landslide. There are few instances of PvP players at the very least being entertaining, even for me who doesn't enjoy it. Bam, for example, is one of the most vocal PvP content creators I've ever seen. If T.H.I.N.K is the Markiplier for PvE, Bam would be that for PvP. He's funny, entertaining, and cares about the life of the game as a whole. And above all, he does not pull his punches when it comes to silly decisions made by Wildcard. Well, aside, and Snail. But we don't talk about Snail because they suck in general. However, that's just one guy in the ocean of just mean-spirited, disrespectful, and rude players who seemingly go out of their way to be negative. It's this energy that leaves most to believe that Ark has a toxic fanbase. That is for the most part not true. It's mostly the PvP players that act like this, and you can easily spot one as they are hyper-focused on that side of the game. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. PvP should not be the only focus on this game. There can be creatures or things that tailor to other parts of it. Bob's Tall Tales, for example, specifically having Aberration and in some places Extinction, have the perfect tools and items for a PvE player. There's nothing wrong with throwing a bone or more to people who enjoy that part of the game. Ark Survival Evolved and Ascended are fun and interesting games that deserve better. Treating players that don't play the game how you do deserve better. The devs deserve better. It wasn't until the corruption of Snail Games that came to light that all sides started to ease up on Wildcard specifically. There's always been hate on the staff, creatures, items, whatever. Some part of the player base would be angry for this reason or that. Is it ridiculous? Yes it is. Is it disrespectful? 100% yes. It is not entirely their fault, and I'm glad to see more people aim their anger at Snail rather than those that they treated poorly. I've talked in length about the corruption of Snail. I shouldn't have to tell it here, but the player base as a whole has a lot of growing up to do, and it shows here. Because good stankin' grief, man. Y'all gotta do better. We gotta do better in general. At least for wildcard's sake. Okay? Okay. Moving on. Alright, my friends, that's gonna have to do it for this video. I did have one more section planned, and that was gonna be for honor, but I decided to go ahead and just cut that all together because I want to get this video done. And I do also want to actually devote an entire video to For Honor because, oh, good grief, man. I could talk for a long while about that one. But yeah, that'll do for now. I hope you guys did enjoy the video regardless. Let me know what you think, what your thoughts are in the comment section below. All that good stuff. Leave a like if you did enjoy. And of course, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.